A major twist has shaken the Diddy trial as a key witness has suddenly vanished. Her role in the case was vital, especially given the weight of the allegations against one of music's most powerful figures. While several witnesses had chosen to remain anonymous, she made the bold choice to step forward publicly, dropping her pseudonym to testify under her real name. Now, her unexplained disappearance is raising serious concerns about the direction and integrity of the case. Federal ME. Prosecutors are in the dark about her whereabouts. Even her own legal team has no idea where she is. What makes this even more alarming is that her testimony is supposed to be a key part of the opening statement set for May 12th, a date that's quickly approaching. At this point, she is officially identified as Victim 3, and because she was subpoenaed, her presence is not optional. It is a legal obligation. Ali Carter had been dropping bombshells for months, pulling back the curtain on what Diddy and his inner circle were allegedly doing behind closed doors. But what many people did not know was that she had actually been subpoenaed to testify against him, officially listed as one of the key witnesses in the case. Then, just as the trial was about to kick off, Ali vanished. Completely. Her lawyers have no clue where she went. Her family is in the dark too, and the timing could not be worse. To complicate everything further, a chilling voice note she had sent to a close friend surfaced just a day before the trial. In it, she spoke about a woman named Christina Karoram, the same woman who, according to Ali, helped Diddy cover his tracks for years. Diddy himself had once praised Christina in a now resurfaced Facebook post from 2021, calling her his right hand and describing her as the force that kept both his personal and professional life in order. At the time, his words seemed harmless, just a CEO applauding a trusted employee. But in hindsight, with all the allegations pouring in, that post reads very differently. Christina Karoram's name has appeared in multiple lawsuits against Diddy, with plaintiffs naming her as a key enabler. Yet she stayed silent until just recently, when she finally issued a public statement. She denied every claim against her, calling the accusations false, damaging, and unthinkable. She insisted she never supported or enabled any form of assault and said she was devastated by the pain caused to real victims. But the public was not buying it. Given the mounting evidence and her name repeatedly appearing in court documents, her sudden defense struck many as too little, too late. Lawsuits then I can talk about in this video, but I'm still going to go through some of them with y'all because there is a clear pattern here. And without her, Diddy would have been caught. A long time ago, she basically protected him and set the groundwork for him to effortlessly commit the crimes he did without any fear of getting caught. No wonder he said in that Facebook post that he didn't know how he'd function without her. Christina Karoram's role in Diddy's world was far from minor. She was the linchpin holding everything together. Her involvement first came to light in Lil Rod's sexual assault lawsuit against Diddy, where Lil Rod described Christina as Diddy's version of Ghislaine Maxwell. According to Lil Rod, when Diddy started making unwanted advances toward him, he confided in Christina, believing she was someone trustworthy. Instead, she dismissed the behavior with a chilling remark, saying, "You know, Sean will be Sean," and downplayed the misconduct as harmless, friendly horseplay, Diddy's twisted way of showing affection. Lil Rod also revealed that Christina managed all of Diddy's personal affairs, including paying sex workers on his behalf, and ensured that his staff carried fanny packs stocked with various illicit substances like GHB, Xanax, and THC. But the allegations do not stop there. Another former senior executive, Phil Pines, filed a lawsuit accusing Diddy of battery and intentional infliction of emotional distress, with Christina again allegedly orchestrating the cover-up. Phil recounted witnessing Diddy violently kicking a woman outside his home, telling her, "I told you I was crazy," before kicking her in the stomach and forcing her to remove her sweatshirt, leaving her exposed. This traumatic scene left Phil shaken, but Christina allegedly warned him to keep silent, hinting at severe consequences if he spoke out. Phil also claimed to have seen Christina coordinate what he called Wild King Nights, debauched parties lasting days, with multiple men and women involved. She handled everything from securing locations to recruiting participants. After Diddy expressed his desire to host one of these wild events, Christina rushed to set up hotel rooms, outfitting them with baby oil, lubricants, male enhancement, pills, Plan B, candles, mood lighting, and an array of toys. Christina's name came up once more in a third lawsuit filed by a woman from San Francisco last October, the case that pushed her to issue her recent denial statement. This woman alleged she initially met Diddy through a FaceTime call arranged by a man she encountered outside a bar. During the call, she made a comment accusing Diddy of being behind Tupac's death, which enraged him. Days later, the man invited her over under the pretense of helping with his cancer medication. But when she arrived, Diddy, Christina, and his entourage allegedly trapped her and subjected her to horrific abuse. The woman claims Diddy held a knife to her face, threatening to give her a Glasgow smile, a brutal wound where the corners of the mouth are sliced open. According to her, Diddy struck her with a television remote before ordering someone else to 4.1 Miniman, who was with him, to sexually assault her while he stood by, watching and pleasuring himself. She also stated that 4 additional men associated with him took turns violating her under his command. Throughout this horrifying ordeal, Christina remained nearby, silently waiting until it ended, so she could step in and clean up afterward. After they finished, Christina handed her a mysterious pill and forced her to take it. The assault continued. Afterward. At some point during this horrific experience, she found a moment to break free. She fled the house in desperation, screaming for help in the street. Her cries caught the attention of a nearby neighbor, who quickly led her inside and contacted the police. So was the neighbor able to identify anyone? Not exactly. The neighbor only saw a vehicle speeding away from the scene and could only describe the type of truck. No clear view of who was inside. However, the woman confided in that neighbor right away, telling them exactly who was involved and why they had left so suddenly. Despite her bravery in filing a police report, nothing was done in response. Why? Because Diddy had allegedly paid the authorities off. He used this tactic often, silencing victims with influence and money. That is why it took someone as high profile as Cassie to step forward and file a lawsuit before he finally faced real consequences. In this particular case, she described how Mr. Clone violated her with an inanimate object, then called in another man to assault her while he watched and gratified himself. Eventually, she found the strength to escape. She ran into the street, shouting for help, and a neighbor, startled by the chaos in their otherwise quiet suburban area, heard her and came to her aid. So yes, there is a witness. There is also a police report, filed back in 2018. At the time, she left Diddy's name out of it, driven by fear of retaliation, and perhaps even more painfully, fear that no one would believe her. Later, she updated that report, and we have since been working with law enforcement to reopen the case. Listening to her recount the trauma was heartbreaking. Her voice shook, and tears streamed down her face. I had to stop her for a moment, just to let her breathe. Even just speaking about it was agonizing for her, like living the nightmare all over again. It felt as though the trauma had just happened, fresh, raw, and still haunting her deeply. The emotional wounds were still wide open. Fast forward to this year, and yet another lawsuit surfaced, also involving Christina. This time, it came from a rising artist named Seven Guzel, who claimed she entered into what was supposed to be a mentorship with Diddy. Instead, she alleged that the entire experience became a cycle of sexual abuse. According to the lawsuit, during the very first incident, Combs allegedly forced her to perform oral sex before violating her further, acts that were entirely against her will and despite her clear refusals. While these disturbing accusations continued to unfold, one name repeatedly came up: Allie Carter. She had long been speaking out about Diddy's conduct, and what she described eerily mirrored the stories now coming to light from other victims. But recently, Allie vanished. Reports now claim she was preparing to serve as a witness in Diddy's upcoming trial. Just days before her disappearance, Allie appeared on a live stream, visibly shaken and crying. She said she feared for her life and for her family's after armed men stormed into her home. According to her, the break-in was no random act. She alleged that these men were hired to kill her, and that someone had deliberately leaked her address and sent the attackers. She did not just speak out in vague terms. She called out names, specific people she believed orchestrated the attempt on her life. This was not speculation or paranoia. It was a cry from someone who had experienced the terrifying reality of being hunted. According to her, the intimidation was not limited to a one-time scare. It became a suffocating pattern of fear that followed her everywhere. She described being watched constantly, as if every step she took was being monitored. Every knock on the door felt suspicious. Every car that slowed down near her home stirred anxiety. These were not ordinary moments of unease. They were symptoms of a life unraveling under pressure from unknown forces determined to keep her quiet. She felt as though her truth, her bold decision to expose powerful people, was being used as a weapon against her. Instead of receiving support, protection, or even compassion, she was forced into isolation. The very act of telling her story became a punishment in itself. The trauma she was trying to heal from only deepened as she was forced to relive it, not in therapy or through justice, but through threats and intimidation. It was as if her courage to speak became an invitation for torment. And what made it all worse was not just the silence of those in power, but the noise from people who had the luxury of treating her pain like entertainment. As she wrestled with fear for her life and safety, some online spectators turned the entire situation into a debate. They argued over whether she was telling the truth, questioned her motives, and nitpicked every detail of her story like it was a script to be fact-checked, instead of a cry for help. For them, it was content. For her, it was survival. Her words painted a picture of someone living in a constant state of emotional siege. She described being harassed in subtle and overt ways. Strange phone calls in the middle of the night, unfamiliar, cars parked outside her home, and online messages laced with thinly veiled threats. These were not coincidences. They were calculated efforts to wear her down, to make her question her own strength and silence her voice before it could gain too much power. Despite all of this, she did not fold. Instead, she tried to document everything. She kept track of the cars she saw too often. She wrote down names. She recorded her voice, not just to tell her story, but to leave behind evidence in case anything happened to her. She was not just trying to survive. She was trying to leave a trail, to make sure the truth would not die with her. Her voice messages, journal entries, and emotional live streams became digital breadcrumbs for anyone willing to listen and understand the full picture. But with each new wave of harassment, the toll it took on her mental and emotional well-being became more visible. She cried on camera, voice trembling, and eyes filled with fear, not because she was weak, but because she had reached the edge of what any human could endure. And yet, even then, some people refused to offer empathy. Instead, they fought in comment sections, turned her pain into gossip, and argued over irrelevant details while ignoring the bigger picture, that a woman was in danger, and her voice was being drowned out by noise. Her frustration boiled over in one emotional recording where she shouted, "This is what happens when you speak out." She was not exaggerating. Her home had been broken into. Her address had been leaked. Her life was uprooted and her sense of security shattered. She had to flee her own home, a place that once held memories of peace, now turned into a battlefield. And through it all, the institutions that were supposed to protect her either looked the other way or moved too slowly to matter. She was not asking for fame. She was not looking for followers or donations. She was asking to be heard, to be believed, to be protected. And that, in itself, people think survivors get to speak on a panel, give a talk, and somehow move on. But that is not the reality. Speaking out comes with real consequences: constant danger, fear, and being hunted for simply telling the truth. And once you understand that, once you really see the tactics being used, maybe then you will truly wake up. I am not asking for money or followers or sympathy. You can keep all of that. They already took everything from me. The only thing I care about now is the people, still in harm's way. There are children at risk, loved ones I cannot shield, and I am powerless to protect them. What are you supposed to do when even the authorities, the very people meant to protect you, cannot be trusted? As I mentioned, one of the key witnesses, set to testify against Diddy, has now vanished. Many believe that person is Allie Carter. Officially, the witness is being referred to as Victim 3, but her sudden disappearance happened at the same time Allie went missing. People are putting the pieces together, and the conclusion seems clear. A critical witness in the Diddy trial has disappeared, and this is incredibly alarming. Her testimony could be pivotal in holding one of the most powerful figures in music accountable. She had originally chosen to remain anonymous, just like 3 other witnesses involved in the case. But in a bold and courageous move, she decided to waive that protection and reveal her true identity during her testimony. Now, however, she has completely vanished. Federal prosecutors have no clue where she is. Her legal team is also in the dark. And the most pressing part? Her testimony is meant to be used during the opening statements on May 12th, a date fast approaching. At this moment, she is still being referred to as Victim 3. She was officially subpoenaed, which means she is legally obligated to appear in court. This development comes just as the trial begins moving forward this week. Jury selection is already underway and is expected to wrap up quickly. While these jurors' identities will remain protected, what caught attention was the list of celebrities presented to them during screening. Names like Michael B. Jordan, Mike Myers, and Kanye West came up, not because they are involved, but to check for potential bias or recognition. Adding even more tension to the situation is a newly reported piece of evidence, a voice note allegedly sent by Ally Carter to a friend. In it, she reportedly revealed further damning details about Christina's role in the abuse, enough that prosecutors believe they may now have grounds to formally charge Christina too. Though Christina has already been named in some of the lawsuits, this voice recording could be the final push needed for criminal charges. Naturally, the public has erupted with concern and speculation. One person commented, "Ally Carter? No way. I have to believe she'll show up. She has to." Another added, "What do you mean she's missing? That's terrifying. I hope she's okay and still alive." So now, the spotlight turns to you. What do you make of this alleged voice note from Ally? Do you think it will finally lead to Christina being arrested? Share your thoughts below, and do not forget to check out this other explosive update we just posted.